in to the 49ers Rush podcast, and here is your host, John Chapman.
Welcome to another episode of the 49ers Rush podcast. I'm your host, John Chapman, and I am very excited to be here today because we've got a packed episode. So, right off the bat, we've gone 3 episodes naming our autographed Joe Montana jersey winner to no avail. Reached out privately on Twitter. That didn't work. And 3 episodes in, they've been active on Twitter, so I know that they are around. They're just, I don't know what it is. So I have this Joe Montana autographed jersey sitting in my house, burning a hole in both my kids want it. And I've got to get rid of this thing. So, because of that, a new winner is going to be announced. So, again, the details were the same, just everybody that entered in and qualified beforehand. So, that winner is going to be announced. And, man, we've got OTA practice news updates, which there's a lot of juicy details there. And then this episode is going to conclude with my 53-man roster projection as far as now. So where the OTAs are. So that's what we got. A whole bunch of stuff going on here. And, man, I think we're going to have a blast today. So without further ado, let's jump straight to the OTA news. So these are, there's several reports out there from field reporters that were at practice the last 2 days. And the 2 prominent ones that I took from is Matt Mayoko and Niners Nation. They both do practice notes. So let's just jump straight into these. And probably the number one piece of news today, Tarvarius Moore, our 3rd-round pick from last year, who was free safety out of Southern Mississippi, was transitioned. When we drafted him, we moved him to a position he's never played before, shocker, and put him at corner, and he was buried on the depth chart, never saw the field, despite cornerback being just almost awful. He did see the film some, so I'm not trying to say he didn't get any snaps there, but never any significant playing time. He was moved back to free safety today. Now, he was still 3rd on the depth chart with the reserves behind Adrian Colbert and Anton Exum, but still, his very first day practicing free safety position in the NFL, he gets an interception in his very first practice. So that is awesome. They came out and they said there's not going to be any permanent decision until training camp on where they want him to be. But, man, with Akello Witherspoon and Jason Verrett, Robert Saleh said he does feel confident at corner now with everybody, as long as they stay healthy, that we can make this move. And a couple things that help this to take place. Cornerback is a much more valued position in our scheme than free safety is, and it's not close. So the fact that corner position has to be stable, and, with Saleh's comments, the one thing that we can take away from is, Tarvarius Moore has not increased or passed anybody on the depth chart. The fact that he is the 4th corner, just as outside corner, should tell you something. Do I think that he could start at free safety? I do. Is his ceiling higher than Adrian Colbert? I think that it is. Now, he's going to have to learn the position. We'll see what he can do. But this is a guy that ran back-to-back 4.32 40s at his pro day, 6'2". He's a thumper. He's very, very aggressive, and he's got ball skills to back it up. So one of Pro Football Focus' highest-ranked players from the 2017 season. So the dude can play. There's no doubt about that going back to his college tape. So that's very positive news. I assume he will stay there. And a big reason why this move was made was because Mr. Glass himself broke his collarbone. Jimmy Ward broke his collarbone during OTAs, and so he is going to be out 2 to 3 months, which means, best case scenario, if you want him back, I don't know what best case scenario for him and his health is that he can return towards the end of training camp. Worst case is he returns at kind of start of the season. So it's going to be curious to see. There is no reason to cut him because the way he signed to a 1-year deal. I think we might save, I think it's like $800,000, less than $1 million. So there's no reason to really just cut him and just say, all right, we're done, because he still counts against the cap. So if he can come back and contribute, he's definitely 53-man roster worthy. If you want him backing up your entire secondary, that's one thing. But we'll just have to see what happens there. Now, Richard Sherman, Also, he got almost intercepted the very first pass in team today versus Dante Pettis on an out route. It was from Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins had a very, very bad day. Sherman did intercept the ball and came down with it, but he was out of bounds. So it just lets you know Mullins, he's never been a great practicer. He needs the fans and all those things, and today was not a good day. And this is going to be huge because they're going to constantly be talking about this battle of the backups and who's going to win that job. I think it's decided already. Mullins just got to play in the preseason. So just understand this is going to take an arc. CJ's going to close space all through training camp and all through OTAs. But once those games start, Nick Mullins will win this. So just prepare yourself for bad Mullins practices and just wait for the games. Debo had a great game, or a great day. He scored 2 touchdowns, took a slant the distance on a big play that would have been a touchdown, but they called it short. They stopped it because they were working in the middle of the field. Big surprise taking a slant the distance. That's why we brought him here. And then a 9-yard touchdown from CJ. Again, both of his passes were from CJ later on. And that was a touchdown pass as well. Mullins, again, rough day. Marcel Harris dropped an interception versus Mullins, but he would have had 4 interceptions on the day, that's not beneficial. Kittle had 3 touchdowns, big surprise. 2 were from Jimmy Garoppolo in 7-on-7 drills, but again, Jimmy is just doing 7-on-7 drills. He's not doing full team or 11-on-11. And then Kittle caught another touchdown pass from Mullins during the team drills or 11-on-11. Funny note of the day, I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Jordan Matthews caught a wide open touchdown pass in the corner. And after he caught it, he went to celebrate and spiked the ball as hard as he could against the fence. The problem was he chunked it over the fence. So once he did this, the ball kept going and sailed because, again, he was trying to kind of spike it with authority after he scored the touchdown. It sails over the fence and hits the player's car in the player's parking lot. Everybody made fun of him for quite a bit. But, so that was celebration gone wrong, I guess you can say. Now, the defensive side, if we look at that, couple things. The linebackers, Fred Warner and Quan Alexander are out. They are still not suiting up. So the starting linebackers with the first team was Elijah Lee and Dre Greenlaw at that Mike and Will spot. That's huge. That is gigantic. Malcolm Smith was lined up as a Sam. And the reason why this is so important is, Malcolm Smith is by far the worst signing, this front office has had. It's been just abysmal with injuries. But the fact that you want your Sam linebacker is only going to be getting about 20% of the snaps. Your Mike and Will are going to be getting about 90 to 95% of the snaps together. So Mike and Will are relatively interchangeable in our defensive scheme. Basically, the only difference between Mike and Will is the Mike is going to call the plays. If it's a balanced set, you're not going to tell the difference between Mike and Will. Literally, they just call it to the wide side of the field. So those 2 players are the exact same and interchangeable. So this is great for Dre Greenlaw and Elijah Lee, meaning it seems as though they might be ahead of Malcolm Smith on the depth chart already. You could argue they're just trying to get him more snaps, but I think this is if you're Dre Greenlaw fan, the 6th round pick out of Arkansas, today is great news for you. So, and then let's talk about our punter that we drafted. Why not, right? He had a hell of a day. So I do understand it's just OTAs, but he went 6 for 6 on his punts during team special teams. All 6 went over 50 yards, and every one of them was down inside the 10-yard line. 2 of those punts, 2 of the 6, were down inside the 3. So, huge day for him. If he can keep up that's going to be an absolute great weapon. I can hear you guys saying now, ha, 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 ha. But anyway, I'll just move on. Now, I do want to say just, a couple roster moves were made that just kind of broke my heart. Peta is gone. Absolutely love this kid who moved over here from Tonga. He's with us for 2 years, just never could really get on the field. He was waived, and we picked up Dante Johnson. If you'll remember, he was the last ranked cornerback in all of Pro Football Focus a few years ago. Just absolutely just awful. Whenever he is in the game, he is targeted, but he was picked up off waivers. do with this what you want. People are saying it's just a camp body. I don't care. I'd rather take a high potential guy. But it is what it is. And Pita was claimed off waivers by the team with the first overall waiver priority, the Arizona Cardinals. So he did not last long. So happy for him. Hope good things happen to him, just not against us. But get used to this. Anybody that we release off of our defensive line or front seven is going to be claimed. We have a very, very deep defensive line, and with somebody like Pita, he fits best in a 3-4. So excited for him. We'll see what happens there. Now, before I go through and go through the entire 53-man projected roster, it is time to announce the new winner, the second winner, if you will, of the 49ers, giveaway. Our sponsors are absolutely amazing. Game Day Sports and Memorabilia, they've been with us for over a year now, and they have given us, 20-plus giveaways, and we've got some more stuff coming in the future, so stay tuned. They gave us an autographed Joe Montana jersey, and it is legit. The winner, the second winner of this, is Robert Strickland. At Cubby Strickland is his Twitter handle. Congratulations. Robert's a great guy if you don't follow him on Twitter already. At Cubby Strickland. And, man, just an awesome guy. I was really excited whenever his name came up. And I will be reaching out to you on Twitter. Sorry if you did not win. I get to keep breaking hearts over here with 49ers apparel, but we are going to have more giveaways very, very soon, so please stay tuned. And if you want to go ahead and get it, head over to Game Day Sports and Memorabilia for all birthdays, anything like that, autographed jerseys, posters, hats, helmets, everything. They've got it all for you there. So moving on to our projected 53-man roster. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go position by position, starting with the offense. I'm going to let you know kind of who's out and who are a few practice squad candidates. But I'm going to let you know how many at each position we kept last year and how many at each position we're going to keep this year. And really almost all of the position numbers are the same between last year and this year with two small exceptions, and I will tell you about those when we get there. So starting at quarterback, we kept two last year. That's going to be the same. We've got a lot of tight position groups, so I do not see us keeping three. I think we'd have to release a young, talented corner or a young, talented defensive lineman to keep three, and I just don't think it's worth it. So Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullins are my guys. CJ Beathard, this is going to be it for him. He is not practice squad eligible, so he would have to go somewhere else. So he is playing for a job somewhere else. Now, Wilton Spate, he is practice squad eligible, and he is a guy that we would waive, and if he got through waivers, we would bring him back. A perfect guy to sit on the practice squad. So that's quarterback. Running back. Last year we kept 5. We will keep 5 again this year, and this is rough because we're going to be letting go of some talent. Jerick McKinnon, in no particular order. Jerick McKinnon, Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert, and Kyle Juszczyk, the Juice. Those are 5s, and I think almost all of those are locks. You could say Raheem Mostert, maybe not, but what people fail to realize is he is an all-pro special teams player with kick returner. I mean, all 4 special teams units. Probably what he's better at than anything is the gunner on a punt team. So you combine that with our new punter, he's going to have a couple highlights throughout this year. We did sign him to an extension, and the guy, I mean, he's legit. Whenever he had to step in after Breida went down, he was awesome as a running back. So the versatility there is key, and everybody in the front office seems to love this guy. That means we are going to be losing Jeff Wilson. Now, that is a huge one. So if Jeff Wilson is cut, I really do think that he will be picked up by somebody else because he proved in the right system he is great. Now, if he gets through waivers, again, I don't think that's going to happen. He is practice squad eligible because of how many games he played in last year, so we would be able to bring him back, and we would. However, if Jeff Wilson is claimed by somebody else, which he will be, Austin Walter, we would put him on the practice squad. So Wilson would definitely get the nod for practice squad there, but Walter if he is gone. Wide receivers. I could see this number increasing. We kept 6 last year. As of now, I only have 6 being kept, but I wish we could keep more because there are some absolute studs there. Now, the 6 that I decided to keep, I'll tell you who you wanted to keep next. Dante Pettis, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd, those three are absolute locks. Now, what do you do after that? Marquise Goodwin, for me, is an absolute keep just because he's so special. We do not have speed at the wide receiver position outside of Goodwin. Yeah, Deebo ran a 4.4, Pettis ran a 4.4, Hurd ran a 4.4, but Goodwin is Olympic speed, like literally training for the Olympics, 4.2 speed, absolute burner, and it seems like Kyle Shanahan wants to do fun things with them. Now, the last two guys I have in, and a lot of people disagreed with me on this, but again, if I was the GM, Richie James and Kendrick Bourne. Main reasons why. Richie James, he's returner, that's great, and he is a big play in the slot. Trent Taylor and Richie James are fighting for this roster spot, and I know based on the Twitter poll I put out there, Trent Taylor was by far the fan favorite. I understand that. I love Trent Taylor. His back issue is a major concern. He is not a big play threat. He is an amazing third down conversion and goal line receiver. I get that, but he doesn't take a lot of snaps, and I really do think that the ceiling is much higher with Richie James. They drafted him knowing Trent Taylor was on the roster. He's just got to be more consistent. Kendrick Bourne, he was the leading receiver for the 49ers last year. He is that bigger body, and I think him and Jordan Matthews are going to be battling big time. Jordan Matthews, however, my problem with him is this. All throughout the NFL, the most success that he has had is at that big slot role. Well, you drafted Jalen Hurd. And, we had Matthews on the roster first. We drafted Jalen Hurd second. Those two guys are going to be playing that same role. So if you're going to keep Jalen Hurd, 100% he's being kept, and Richie James, who's another slot guy, you don't want to keep another small slot and another big slot. Also, Max McCaffrey, Malik Henry, and Sean Point Dexter, those guys are going to miss out. Now, there's going to be a giant practice squad battle here because you always want to keep one of these guys. I think Malik Henry and Sean Point Dexter versus Max McCaffrey. I don't think we would keep him again a second year, but perhaps, who knows. Sean Point Dexter had a good day in practice, scored a touchdown. He's my early favorite for the practice squad candidate. And again, whenever I talk about the six that we're keeping at wide receiver, it's the highest ceiling players. That's what I am looking for there. Tight end, I think this one, we're going to have to see. Kittle's a lock no matter what. Caden Smith is a lock no matter what. Now that third final spot, because we kept 3 last year, we're going to keep 3 again. We brought in Levine Toya Lolo, and I think that he will get in ahead of Garrett Selleck. Garrett Selleck had a very bad year last year. He is still in concussion protocol. He still has a back issue as well. I love Garrett Selleck, and if it's close, I hope they give Selleck the nod. But being in concussion protocol at the end of May is problematic to say the least. Ross Dwelly is another outside shot, and Tyree Mayfield, practice squad guy, I think there. We keep 10 practice squad players, and it's always good to have somebody at a position of high injury, and the volume of tight ends is just huge with the amount of contact that they have. Now, let's move on to offensive line. I just put this into 2 different groups, interior and tackles. So tackles, we kept 4 last year. I don't think we're doing that. This is the one spot that I have us keeping fewer than we had last year. So I have us only keeping 3. Joe Staley, Mike McGlinchey, locks no matter what, and Justin School. I think that, our draft pick this year, I think he's going to be that swing guy. Which means if we're, out, is going to be people like Willie Beavers, Daniel Brunskill, guys like this. I do not think that they will make it. And, of course, Sean Coleman. He was a guy that was just never active, but he was always, part of our 53-man, but then he was listed as the inactives on game day. All right, interior offensive line. We have 5 last year. We're going to keep 5 again this year. Western Richburg, can't get rid of him, even though his knee's still been an issue. Laken Tomlinson, Mike Pearson, Eric Magnuson, and Josh Garnett. Now, he is on the bubble, but if he can stay healthy, the talent is there. You remember, he's a first-round pick. We don't really get a cap savings by cutting him, so the ceiling is definitely higher, which means out is Ben Garland, Najee Torin, who was on our practice squad a lot last year, and he is still practice squad worthy. I could see him staying there. Ross Reynolds and Wesley Johnson are out. So again, interior, Richburg, Tomlinson, Pearson, Magnuson, and Garnett. And again, with almost all those guys, they can play more than one position besides Josh Garnett. He's really the only one that's going to be stuck to right guard. I don't think he can really do anything else. But he's the last guy in on the list. Now let's shift over to defense. Holy freaking cow. This is a rough group. Last year we kept 9 defensive linemen, and I tried doing DTs and DNs, but with our defense, that is impossible because everybody lines up all up and down. I tried doing edge, but then we do like our strong side edge players. So anyway, I'm just doing all D-line. We kept 9 last year, and I think we're going to keep 9 this year, which is rough because we're going to be losing some studs. All right, as far as locks go, DeForest Buckner, lock. Nick Bosa, lock. D Ford, lock. Eric Armstead's a lock unless he is traded. Not saying that we will keep him on the roster, but as far as the 53-man roster, he is not going to be cut at all. I know people keep saying that, but that's not a possibility with the way the cap is structured. And after we picked up his 5th-year option, is he available for trade? 100%. But we are keeping him. Solomon Thomas, we're keeping him. DJ Jones, he is going to be kept as well. So we have those initial guys that are locks. Buckner, Bosa, Ford, Eric Armstead, Solly, DJ Jones. After that, man, this is going to be the camp battles that are just going to be nuts. And really, health is probably going to be the one to determine who stays and who doesn't. So I put this up on Twitter and said, hey, these are the guys that are going to be able to stay, which means not all these guys are going to make it. And you have to pick one that will be cut. And the ones that were going to be cut were Sheldon Day, Kentavious Streets, Ronald Blair, and Julian Taylor. First off, everybody wants to keep Ronald Blair. I am included. I have him making it. Kentavious Street, we got to see what he did. 4th-round pick out of NC State the previous year. He's one of those big, versatile guys, can play that same position that Eric Armstead has been playing, but he offers a little bit more whenever it comes to pass rush. So really the competition comes down between Sheldon Day and Julian Taylor. I'm going to go against you guys. Twitter voted Sheldon Day would be the one cut. I'm saying Julian Taylor. And the big reason why is Sheldon Day can play inside very, very well, whereas Julian Taylor is more of an outside. He can do that 5 and the 7 technique only, and I think we're loaded there now. I like Julian Taylor. I hate to see him go. You could tell that the front office and coaching staff loved him because they kept him on the 53-man and just made him inactive on game day because they didn't want to allow him to be claimed by waivers. I wouldn't be surprised if they do keep him, but I would prefer Sheldon Day just because I want a little bit more depth on that interior, at that kind of nose guard spot, nose tackle spot that plays over the shade on strong downs. So that would give you Sheldon Day and DJ Jones, or perhaps Solomon Thomas there, which again, not really his position over the center, but I'd prefer it. So that means Cedric Thornton, Kevin Givens, Capron, Lewis Moore, and Julian Taylor are all going to be cut. In my projection, 3 out of 4 of those guys, maybe all of them would be picked up by other teams. Julian Taylor, 100% would be picked up. So that's going to be one of the most, compact spots because there's so much talent there. It's crazy how strong our D-line is. We have 5 first-round draft picks just in our defensive line group alone. Linebackers, we kept 6 last year. I think 6 again. Fred Warner, Quan Alexander are absolute locks. Outside of that, it gets a little weird. I think Malcolm Smith, we have to keep 1 more year just because of the way his contract is set up, but I could see him being cut next year. Elijah Lee, I really believe he should be the backup, Mike and Will. And then our Sam backers is going to be tough. Mike Nazocha and Drake Greenlaw are picked this year. The good thing about them is they both contribute so much on special teams. So that means we've got guys out. Pita was cut earlier this week, so he's already gone. Aziz Al-Shahar, David Mayo, and Leroy Reynolds. David Mayo is a guy to keep an eye on for a practice squad spot as well. Corners, we kept 6 last year, I think 6 again. And again, some of these guys are all over the place. Sherman, Verrett, Jason Verrett, and Akila Witherspoon, Tavarius Moore, Kwan Williams, those are all locks. Now, again, if you want to count Tarvarius Moore as a safety, that's fine, but the numbers are still the same. Now, Tim Harris is injured. He's not getting snaps in OTAs. And, whenever Kyle Shanahan talked about it in the press conference, his face didn't exactly light up. We took him in the 6th round, and he's a height, weight, speed guy. kind of a character traits guy that we like, physical character traits guy. But he's going to have to beat out somebody. Him and Greg Mabin are fighting for that last spot. Emmanuel Mosley's another undrafted free agent that I really like in Alex Brown. I do think that I hope that Mabin is cut. Emmanuel Mosley, I hope we bring him back on practice squad, and Alex Brown. So, again, the 6 that we would keep at corner: Sherman, Verrett, Aquilo, Tavarius Moore, Kwan Williams, and Tim Harris. So that's what I like at the corner position. And then safety position, we kept 4 last year. I want to keep 5. I want to keep 5 because it's such a weak position. Jaquiski Tart, Adrian Colbert, DJ Reed, Jimmy Ward, and Marcel Harris. And if you want to count Tavarius Moore in that safety position and then put DJ Reed in the corner position, you could do that. The people that I do not have making the team, Anton Exum Jr., Tyree Robinson, and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. I think Tyree Robinson is another practice squad candidate that we could bring back if he clears. But again, so your safety and corner group, we're keeping 10. We're keeping 11, whereas we only kept 10 last year because that safety position is just a mess. And even if Jimmy Ward is not fully healthy, I think we're keeping him. He's going to be on our 53-man. Then after the 53-man, we'd move him to IR and hope one of these other corners or safeties clears, then we would bring them back. But again, if you just cut Jimmy Ward, you just lose $4 million off your cap. And with a collarbone, usually they heal fairly well, and he would be able to come back, maybe a PUP candidate, IR candidate, something like that. He would be able to contribute at some point during the year. With the commitment that the front office has made to him financially, I really do not believe we're just going to wash our hands of him. I kind of wish we would, but it's not going to happen. So that is our 53-man projected roster as of now. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and we will be back. I am doing another mailbag episode because we didn't get finished, and I still got quite a few questions there. But if you would like a question added to the list, please hit me up on Twitter at JL_Chapman. That is JL_Chapman. Or you could just email me, 49ersRushPodcast@gmail.com. So, again, a couple different ways that you can reach out there. JL_Chapman on Twitter or email me. Thanks, guys, and stay strong, faithful.